Let's talk some salary cap. I think that's where we go next. Is the Pittsburgh Steelers are set to go to the NFL Combine on Monday. It feels so good to be able to talk and not watch myself go all nuts. The Steelers go down to the NFL Combine on Monday. From there, they will begin free agency. I would imagine a lot of conversations happen in Indianapolis. That's typically what goes down. The Super Bowl is the place where you start to hear where the layout of the land is. Indianapolis is when moves start to be made, whether they're official or not official, or whether they're legal or not legal. Indianapolis is the place where you get 32 GMs, 32 head coaches, a boatload of scouts, and every agent in the NFL in one city. Indianapolis, I don't know if you guys have been to Indianapolis, but you literally drive in, it goes nothing, 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 Indianapolis. Nothing, nothing, nothing. That's what it is. So there's not a place to escape. Everybody's at the same bars. Everybody's at the same restaurants. Everybody's at the same convention center. And because of that, there are a lot of conversations. The Pittsburgh Steelers have roughly $60 million in available cap space to spend, and I have an idea of how they should go about spending it and how they should break down each position and who they should go after. If I am Omar Khan, this is my list and signings of how I'm approaching that $60 million plus some, because I go over 60, but I don't go over 60 enough to cause a concern. That's important here. Is you could go over 60 million bucks, have an understanding that Isaac Seumalo, Larry Ogunjobi, Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, possibly Cam Hayward, I'm missing it, Minka Fitzpatrick, all have the ability to restructure and or be cut to save some money. Cole Holcomb is another name to toss on that list as well. We're going to start with the quarterback position because that's the most important position, and that's where everything starts. The Steelers do not make a move this offseason without signing a quarterback. Whether that quarterback is Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, doesn't matter. I mean, I got updates yesterday before even we jumped on this podcast about a number of things. One of them was reassuring me that the Pittsburgh Steelers still believe all quarterback options are on the table. They want Justin Fields, but Justin Fields isn't under contract. And sitting there thinking that's their only option leads to Brandon Ayuk, Van Jefferson. That's what happens there. You can't do that at quarterback. You shouldn't do that at wide receiver, but hindsight's 2020. You live and you learn. It starts at quarterback. I'm making Justin Fields to a 2-year deal where in his first year, the cap hit is probably just under $20 million, but you always got to guess up. You always got to guess more than it actually is. And in my eyes, it's $20 million. It peaks at 20. If it goes higher than 20, you're in a bidding war. Something has happened. You've already made the mistake of not getting this done before free agency if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I believe that $20 million for the quarterback is where we start. You start with Justin Fields. From there, you go to the defensive side of the football because that will be the easiest side to go out and get. You can get 2 players, both of them just about 30 years old, over or under, and both of them collectively will cost roughly 20 million bucks. That's 2/3 of your available salary cap space, but it's also 2 crucial positions for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm getting rid of Larry Ogunjobi, and I like Larry O. I think he's a good dude. I think what he's done for the Pittsburgh Steelers is great in a capacity, but he has maxed out, and in my eyes, you can do a little bit better. I'm picking up another 30-year-old, though. I'm not going too crazy. I think you could get Javon Hargraves for cheaper. I think this is a bigger name that adds more production and comes in here and plays a nose tackle position probably better than Hargraves is going to. That name to me is DJ Jones. I like DJ Jones. I think what he did in Denver this past season and really for the last couple of years has been great. I think he, at 30 years old, still has enough upside to be a massive force in the middle of your defensive line, and the Steelers need that piece. They need a veteran so that they can go to the NFL draft and dive in deeper to defensive linemen, whether it's the first round, whether it's the second round, whether it's the third round. I hope it doesn't go later than that. And at that point, dive into the future and the depth. That's what you're doing in the NFL draft. DJ Jones' market value is $11.2 million on a 1-year deal. I'm not totally comfortable with that. I also think there's a chance he gets it. So we'll go with his market value. You got to hope that the Pittsburgh Steelers get him for 9. I think 9's a great number. But if we're saying 11, if we're going with what the experts say, we're going to go 11.2. The Pittsburgh Steelers have now spent $31.2 million of their $60 million in available cap space. You go back to corner. The easiest option for the Pittsburgh Steelers is plain and simple. It is Dante Jackson. I understand it's not flashy, but it's cheap and reliable. And that's what the Steelers are looking for. You could go with the DJ Reed. You could go with the Charvarius Ward. You could go with the Byron Humphrey. They're going to cost you 13 plus million bucks. And the Steelers don't have that money to spend, nor will they spend it. So Dante Jackson is the easy fallback option. He will be deeper on that list than you would like him to be, and because of it, or than he would like to be, and because of it, you could get him for under $10 million. I'm guessing Dante Jackson signs to the Pittsburgh Steelers at a max of $9 million, which I get is still a pretty big number, but he made $10 million last season. The cornerback market is pretty high, and you're not going for an Akella Witherspoon. You're not going for a Levi Wallace. You're not going for a Patrick Peterson. You need the next level up. The next level up is Dante Jackson. Bring him back. Approach it either in the NFL draft or hope that Corey Trice comes in here and plays better in 2024 and is healthier, or in 2025 and is healthier in 2025. But I think bringing back Dante Jackson is an easy move, and honestly not a bad move. You could say whatever you want. If the Steelers' pass rush was any better, quarterbacks wouldn't have so much time to burn Dante Jackson, and he probably wouldn't be dealing with so many back injuries at the same time. I'm going Dante Jackson and DJ Jones. That costs you about another $20 million. The Pittsburgh Steelers have now spent $40 million of their $60 million available cap space. They've signed 3 guys. They've signed 3 names. All 3 of them pretty big, but they've signed 3 names. Now we're going running backs. You got to get a running back. Jaylen Warren's the easiest name you could bring in, $3.25 million, I believe, for his tender. You tender him, $3.25, $3.5 million, whatever it is. I'm going out to get a veteran. I'm getting rid of Cordero Patterson, and I'm going out to get a new veteran. That veteran is probably going to be a Rico Dowdle or Raheem Mostert. Those are the 2 that I have my eyes on that make the most sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Neither of them I'm signing for anything more than $2.5 million. Neither. Maybe Rico Dowdle is 3, but I doubt it. Either way, I'm allocating $6 million to my running back position. Then you're going to the NFL draft and you're drafting somebody who could be that number 2. That's what I'm doing. And we'll dive into, you need, I think, roughly like $10 million for your rookies, and then you need $10 million for others. Okay, great. I'm going $6 million on the running back room. I think Jaylen Warren and a veteran, whether it's Mostert or Dowdle, makes too much sense. It totally reshapes your running back core and gives you 3 guys that are pretty solid options. Even if the Steelers found themselves with Dowdle or Mostert as their starter for a week or 2, they're in a good spot. It could be much worse. I think $6 million is a good place to be. Offensive line is where I'm going next, and I'm not spending much. But if the Steelers are looking at this saying, we want competition for Mason McCormick, okay, bring in competition for Mason McCormick. I don't know who that name is. I don't know where that name comes from, but I had to guess, if I had to guess, it's free agency, and you're going to have to spend some money on him. Well, I'm saying under $4 million, $4 million max for an offensive guard. I feel pretty okay with that. I think that could also go towards a swing tackle. In my opinion, Spencer Anderson's either got to be your backup guard or your backup swing tackle. He's got to be one of the 2. You're signing Ryan McCollum to almost nothing, vet minimum, $1 million, maybe even, I think you might be able to tender him. I have no idea. Either way, $1 million max for a Ryan McCollum. And then for your other, whatever that position is, whether it's guard or tackle, I'll spend the other 3. Sure. Great. I don't think it really soups up your offensive line, but I don't think it necessarily hurts it. Now, you can make the argument for James Daniels, bringing back James Daniels. That's $10 million, minimum $10 million, and maybe 15. And I think that changes the whole course of what you're doing. I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's super likely that that is to happen. And if it does happen, people will ask how. How do you come up with that cap space? How do you make all this work? You don't. You look for Omar Khan and Sheldon White and whoever to go into the front office and pull off the salary cap is not real nonsense and come up with 15 million bucks. And they could do it. How? I don't know, but they can do it with ease. And then I'm finishing it off with a wide receiver. That wide receiver is Darius Slayton. His estimated market value is $15.8 million per season on a 3-year deal. I'm very comfortable with that number. I am very okay with that number for Darius Slayton. He comes in and he is your wide receiver too. You're keeping George Pickens. He's making like $3.25 million bucks this year. Okay, great. And then you will head into the NFL draft, and your draft big board goes defensive line, wide receiver, running back, defensive line again. That's what it says. And I think at that point, you added a starter, moved Keanu Benton over to defensive tackle from nose tackle. You go into the draft and you add 2 guys who will be starters in a year. You get a running back who will be a starter in the year, but for right now is working behind Jaylen Warren. You get a wide receiver that has some serious upside and is eventually going to replace George Pickens. And then you figure out the rest from there. Leaves you with a hole at corner and at safety, but I think the Steelers can figure those things out. That spends $66 million for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You move on from Larry O, that gets you to 67, so you'll be fine there. You restructure Minkah Fitzpatrick, Alex Highsmith, and Cam Hayward. You could probably add another 10-ish, somewhere in that ballpark. So you'll be at 77 right there. You move on from Cole Holcomb. I believe that's another 7. I'm almost positive it's 7, 6 maybe. We'll go 6. That gets you to 85. So you now have 20 million bucks. That leaves you for 10 for whatever. 10 for your draft class. And then from there, you could figure some things out if you need to restructure or regroup yourself or however you need to go about it. That is how I see it happening. I'll give you a quick run through because that was a lot of information. The Steelers have $60 million. I'm signing Justin Fields to 20, Dante Jackson to 9, DJ Jones to 11, Darius Slayton to 15, running backs to 6, and an offensive lineman to 4 gets you to 66. And then I'm making the cap moves to get myself to 85. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems like something the Pittsburgh Steelers would do because that goes along the line of thinking, excuse me, of what we've seen in previous off seasons. I mean, you do need to spend at least a third of that on a quarterback. And if you're getting Justin Fields, that's probably the cheapest that you're going to get because a lot of these other options are coming in for a little bit more. I think even the veterans are going to command some money because they have the pedigree and they're going to be able to make those types of demands. But I like the way you filled it out. The one name that I looked at on defensive line, you said DJ Jones. I like BJ Hill out of Cincinnati. I think you get a guy that's 300 plus pounds to clog up the middle of the field. I think that's exactly what the Steelers have been missing. I know that, Keanu Benton has done his best in the first 2 years of his career to be able to play that position, but we all know he's best served on the outside, or at least moving a little bit to the outside, not playing the dead nose tackle, which is, I think if you brought in BJ Hill, he'd be a very good addition for you there. And that's about $9 million. And I think that's saving you some money on one end, but also at the same time, you do probably not get as much production as you get out of a DJ Jones. And the Dante Jackson one, as much as it feels like a tough pill to swallow, it feels like it's the most likely case scenario for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I know there's a lot of people that look at the way he performed late last season and say he's not worth that type of money. And you're probably right if he plays that way and if he is injured again next season. But if he's not injured, look at the way he played early in the year. He was fine. And once those back injuries started to hamper him, what is the biggest plus of Dante Jackson's game? It's his speed. And how are you going to be top speed when you're suffering from a back injury? So if he's able to get healthy, I think that's a pretty good signing, especially you mentioned it was 9. He made $6 million against the cap last year. So I feel like you'd save even a little bit more money. At least I saw that on Spotrac while you
Yeah,
were
it's the 6 million is like what the Steelers took out on the cap hit.
off
The
the
4 million was from
fair.
his signing bonus that Carolina had to spend. I think it evened out because I think the Steelers had to spend the same amount roughly on Deontay in the trade. Yeah, so I'm almost positive they actually lost like $500,000 in that, which worth it. I think worth it, but I think they lost five. But I agree with you. I think you could get them for cheaper. I think $9 million. I think all of these things. I think Darius Slayton might be pretty spot on, but DJ Jones I think could be for cheap. I think Dante Jackson could be for cheaper. I think you could probably get some linemen for $1 million that are super big veterans. And I also think that there's a chance that Raheem Mostert signs for like $1 million, and same does Dowdle, because nobody's offering them bonkers money. You know, the Steelers offered Cordero Patterson bonkers money for no reason whatsoever. I think they could learn from that mistake. I agree with you. I think they could all be a little bit cheaper. Dante Jackson would be, I mean, Dante Jackson for $6-7 million is a steal. You're not going to get an all pro, but you know, you are going to get a guy that's a starter in the NFL for $6 million, $7 million. I'd be okay with that. No questions. I think Dante Jackson is the one move this offseason that is like boring, but I'm okay with. That I think holds more upside than people are willing to. It kind of strikes me as like the Steelers gave up on Steven Nelson a little bit early, and they're don't do it with Dante Jackson. You know, let it ride out the Dante Jackson for another season, and then figure it out.